is where she feels the contrast between the world's needy men and your stillness. She touched you. You didn't flinch. You held frame. That's the kind of moment that stays with her long after the interaction ends. And today, she speaks. Brain Part 1, The First Mirror. I don't remember the first time I was called fat. I just remember the feeling, as if someone had stamped a label on me I never asked for. As if my body was an apology I hadn't learned how to make yet. Clothes weren't about style. They were about camouflage. I wasn't choosing outfits, I was choosing shields. Cover as much as possible. Blend in. Hide the rolls, the arms, the stomach. Disappear. Every summer was a curse. While others celebrated sun, beaches, crop tops, I counted down the days until autumn would save me again. Layers. Hoodies. Cover. Relief. And yet, it was never enough. Because my body wasn't a season. It was a sentence. Broken Heart Part 2, The Weight of Fear. Doctors never just saw me. They saw risk factors. Diabetes. Heart attack. Infertility. Words thrown around like daggers dressed as diagnoses. Cancer, my silent obsession. I googled it at night like a horror story I couldn't stop reading. Breast. Kidney. Endometrial. It felt like my body was a battlefield, and I had already lost. I was 13, with a body like an old woman. Joint pain. Sleep apnea. Backaches. But worst of all, depression. A heaviness no diet could fix. Not the kind you cry about. The kind that dulls your eyes. The kind that makes existing feel like effort. Part 3, When you do lose the weight. They don't tell you what comes next. Loose skin. Fat pockets that never disappear. A stomach that still folds in shame even when the scale says you're normal. You shrink, but the shame doesn't. Because you're still haunted by who you used to be. Every mirror becomes a comparison. Not to other girls, but to your past self. So now you're stuck between being fat and invisible, or thin and self-critical. Fat and hated. Thin and hollow. Either way, it feels like you're still not enough. They say, just lose the weight and you'll be free. But they don't warn you that freedom comes with its own chains. Downcast Face with Sweat Part 4, The Hallway Walk of Shame. Every time I walked through the school hallway, it felt like a stage. I swear, every time someone passed by me, they held their breath. Like my presence was pollution. I learned how to walk fast. How to keep my eyes down. How to laugh first before anyone else could. They said things without words. A glance. A smirk. A nudge to a friend. I heard it all, even in silence. Woman Running Part 5, PE class wasn't about exercise, it was about survival. PE wasn't about health. It was humiliation, scheduled at 10:30 a.m. every Tuesday and Thursday. Come on, it's just once. Nothing will happen, they'd say. But they didn't know what it felt like to exist in a body like mine. Where every step felt like a performance. Where every bounce, jiggle, gasp, was a reason to laugh at me. And when the teacher said, tough luck, you need stamina. I wanted to scream. I don't need stamina. I need mercy. I need air. I need one day where I'm not the joke. But instead, I nodded. Because fat girls don't talk back. We absorb. We shrink. We obey. Spoon Part 6, Family dinner isn't always nourishment. Dinner time in most homes is about love. In mine, it was about obligation. A full plate wasn't kindness, it was pressure in edible form. I remember the smell of freshly cooked food. I remember my mom smiling, proud of the meal she made. Mom. Sweetheart, you just got home. You must be starving. But I wasn't hungry. I was exhausted. Tired of chewing my emotions down with every bite. Me, softly. Mom, I don't want it. She blinked. Confused. What do you mean, you don't want it? The table fell silent. Grandma, louder. Now what kind of foolishness is she talking about? Nobody throws food away in this house. You eat. There it was. The guilt marinade. Laced with tradition. Seasoned with shame. What they didn't know was, I had already eaten. My own self-worth. One forkful at a time. At school. In silence. Alone. I didn't need food. I needed control. And I never had any. Face without mouth fog part 7, the invisible hunger. There's a certain hunger that's worse than not eating. It's the hunger to belong. The hunger to be seen, not stared at. The hunger to be loved without being labeled. I didn't know the taste of romantic attention. Crushes were for thin girls. Confessions were for pretty girls. Prom was for someone else. I became an expert in invisibility. Perfect grades. Quiet presence. Always useful, never desirable. I told myself. You're smart. You're strong. Who needs looks? But late at night, I scrolled through Instagram and saw their faces. The ones who had what I didn't. Effortless approval. Effortless acceptance. I didn't envy them for being beautiful. I envied them for being allowed to exist without apology. Salt Part 8, Subtle Microaggressions. Death by 1,000 cuts. People rarely say it to your face. They say it in jokes. She's got such a pretty face, if only she lost a bit of weight. Or, you're not fat, you're just curvy. Don't say that about yourself. As if denial is kindness. As if reframing shame makes it sweeter. I didn't want their lies. I wanted space. Space to breathe. Space to be real. And yet, I stayed quiet. Because when you're the fat girl, every complaint sounds like a whine. Every truth sounds like bitterness. Brain Part 9, The Psychology of Internalized Hatred. Over time, I didn't need bullies. I became my own. I'd look in the mirror and catalog my flaws. Double chin? Check. Stomach roll? Check. Arm fat? Definitely. Thighs that touched? Unforgivable. And I didn't just see those flaws, I began to believe they defined me. I stopped swimming. I stopped running. I stopped raising my hand in class. Because what if my arm jiggles and someone notices? I lived in constant anticipation of being noticed. In the worst way. My self-image wasn't just damaged. It was engineered by a world that saw my body as public property. And the worst part? I believed them. Disappointed face part 10, when friends become mirrors, too. Even my friends, the ones who swore they loved me, began to reflect society's voice. You're beautiful no matter what. But don't you want to be healthy? I support you either way, but maybe you should try yoga? Their voices were laced with concern. But I could feel the unspoken judgment. Support isn't telling me to change. Support is holding space while I figure out who I am. Instead, I felt cornered. Trapped between being grateful for their help and secretly resenting them for their ease. Because it was always easier for them. Mobile phone part 11, filters, facades, and the trap of comparison. Social media didn't invent shame. It just amplified it. Every scroll showed me perfection. Airbrushed stomachs. Pouty lips. Hourglass waists. Captions pretending to be raw. Feeling bloated today, LOL 2 hearts, written by someone with a six-pack. My feed became a war zone. Each image was a bullet. Each video, a reminder of who I wasn't. But I couldn't look away. Because comparison is addictive. Especially when you hate yourself. I didn't want to be them. I just wanted to matter like they did. Performing Arts Part 12, The Mask of Humor. I became the funny one. The self-deprecating one. The one who made fat jokes before anyone else could. Haha, careful, don't sit next to me or the bench might break. Everyone laughed. So I smiled. But inside, I was screaming. Don't you see this isn't a joke? Don't you see this is pain dressed up in punchlines? The truth? I wasn't okay. I just didn't want them to know how not okay I really was.